Hello there, online Econ students. Welcome to your last week. I wish that I had had a chance to get to know you better and work with you longer. I've been very impressed with this group and the thoughtfulness in your responses. And so, with that, I'm going to get to some of your responses from your investing 321 because I just like to answer some student questions when I have the chance. One question that a student asked about investing is what percentage of investments should you recommend goes into buying stocks? Which percentage would go towards bonds? And again, I think it depends entirely upon when you start investing and what your goals are. If you're looking at long term, you can probably spread out your risk with more low risk investments because you have time to build low and medium risk, and bonds certainly fit in that low risk. Um, Stocks, if you were investing later in life and you needed to turn things around pretty quickly, you're gonna have to take a higher risk, and so a stock would be where you want to put a higher percentage of your monies. When my wife and I invest, we have quite a bit invested in mutual funds, which is a way of purchasing a unit of investment where it's a combination of bonds and stocks. So as you start diving into investing, again, I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'd recommend starting with a financial planner who can kind of tell you the ropes and help guide you down the investing path. Next question, in general, which investing in order to retire financially stable do I need to take any risks or can I play it safe? And I guess that kind of rolls into that last question is the earlier you invest, the more safe you can be. The later that you invest, the more risk that you have to take. Another question, do you need a credit card to be able to invest? The answer to that is no. You certainly just have a bank account or even cash if you're working with a financial planner. They'll be able to invest your funds if you don't have a credit card. They can do direct deposits and electronic transfers from your bank account. So a credit card, perhaps you would need one if you're working with some online company and that's how you chose to pay. But really bear in mind a credit card is just a pre-approved loan. It's not actually money that you hold or wealth that you hold. So be real cautious about investing using credit. Next question, if you're only making a little money, is it worth it because it's taxed? Yes, it is worth it. The more that you start, or the earlier I should say, you start doing it, the more it ends up being in the long run. And it's only taxed once. And if you're only doing a little bit, it's not going to be taxed at a very high rate. So, yes, it is worth it to start early, even if it's a small amount. Next, would it be better to use up saved money you have for college expenses or invest in it? And I think that's a great question. I think a college money you have saved for college is really an investment in and of itself. You're investing in yourself and your immediate future because you're looking at trying to develop your skills and your qualifications and your knowledge. So you are going to be able to demand higher wages and hopefully earn an immediate better way of life for yourself. And investing some money now is not a bad thing. I'd say go the college route first because you're going to see the biggest rewards for the short term there, and over the long haul, it'll probably help your overall earnings during your work life. So I would not give up college expense monies that you have saved in favor of investment, unless you're deciding, maybe you don't want to go to college. But um, hopefully that answers that question for you. Next, how do you know where the right place to put your investments are? And if you don't know, then is it just luck? Yeah, a little bit. It's luck, but you can make wise decisions when you diversify your investments. In other words, you're not putting them in one spot, you're spreading your risk out. And if you do it early and you have some low risk and medium risk and maybe sprinkle in a little high risk because if the high risk pays off, it can really help you out in the long run. Um, that's what you can do. Bonds, of course, is a way of investing where it's not luck. Bonds, of course, are a guaranteed investment where you're going to get a percentage back after a certain amount of time. Whereas some other things like stocks, you can turn around and withdraw because it's based on the performance of the company. Next question. What are some ways to invest money and make sure that you don't lose it in the process? Again, no guarantees. I would say like bonds, though, and certificates of deposits, those are good ways to guarantee you don't lose it in the process. I think mutual funds and index funds, ways that you can spread out your risk is probably the best approach to that. Next, why do companies have stocks in the first place? And companies offer stocks because they need to generate capital, venture capital for themselves when they want to expand research and development, or they want to run a new line of a product, or they need to fund purchasing a new factory. They can offer part ownership of the business to get those prospective investors monies in so they can continue on with the company. So they might offer stock to try to expand business. And last one that I'll answer today. If a company goes under, what happens with the stock you have? Again, good question. Usually companies are going to be liquidating their assets, and the last thing, if there is any money left over, would end up in the hands of the shareholders. So typically, a shareholder is going to want to try to sell their stock off, even if it's at a pretty low price, lower than what they purchased it for, because it's better to get something back than to get nothing back. So uh, that would be, I guess, what happens if you continue to hang on to it and the business goes out of business, you lose your investment. Okay, great questions. Now, the screen you've been looking at, it says warning, and I probably saw this message when I sent it out last Friday. This is just simply my end of the Hexmester message to people. And again, this group by and large has done a great job of keeping pace with the course, and I have very few concerns. But if you are one of those students that's lagging behind a little bit, here's some advice for you on how to tackle the late work and which things you should prioritize first. As a reminder to everybody, if you're looking to improve your grade and you did poorly on any of the summative exams, you can retake them. It would be helpful in this last week if you let me know that you've done that. There's a lot of work coming in, not only for the online class, but my three hybrid classes at Park. So busy week this week. So any communication you can do to help me out would be greatly appreciated. As far as what we are doing this week, it's kind of a half week, I guess, is how I look at it. We're wrapping up our personal finance unit, and we've got our last module, which is dealing with credit and insurance. And so when we look into that module, you've got an intro video to watch. There's a short video on loans, another short one on insurance, and then there's a game for you to play called Credit Clash. The three C's of character, which you will be asked on the level 4 exit this week, you want to study this to help you out with answering that question. And also, I've provided you with an infographic on insurance, looking at the difference between premiums and deductibles and what those terms mean. Um, Here we've got 4 different types of insurance. Another question you'll be asked is regarding auto insurance. You'll be presented with 3 different candidates for auto insurance, and your job is going to be to pretend you're an insurance agent and assess the risk and figure out which driver is the riskiest, which one's the least riskiest, which one's in the middle. Things you want to pay attention to is the age of the driver. Drivers that don't have a lot of experience or are young in age are going to be a higher risk. The type of car they drive could present a higher risk. How often or how far they drive could be uh, factoring into the risk. And lastly, um, where they live. If they're in a highly populated urban area, greater risk. If they live out in the country or rural area, less risk. So kind of keep that in mind as you're evaluating the auto insurance piece. So you got the loans video, we got Credit Clash, we got uh, a couple of Quizlets here for credit cards and insurance. So these are optional for you to use, but it's kind of like just a glossary of terms for you. If you're going through the videos and the tutorials and you hear something that just doesn't make sense, chances are it's probably a term that's going to be either revolving around credit or insurance. So that's the module for this week. And then when you've completed the module, there's a 3-2-1 exit ticket, very similar to last week's. And then there is a level 4 exit. Now, I've alluded to a couple of questions that are on there already. You've got the life insurance, not life insurance, the auto insurance question. You've got you're going to have a question revolving around risk and investments and why diversification is good. So understand why you don't want to put all of your investments in one place. There will be a question about the rule of 72. So make sure you review the rule of 72 and you know what that is. There'll be a question about budgeting, and there'll be a person who's presented to you, and you're going to need to make some recommendations to that person. So that is what you're going to want to be getting yourself ready for when you take the level 4 exit. Again, if you take it the first time and you feel like, oh shoot, I probably should have studied, that topic more. Well, then go back into the module, either whether it was 8, 9, or 10, review that topic and take it over. Right? We've got unlimited attempts on these level exits. And then after the exit's done, there's a couple of there's an extension activity here on international trade, since there's a little extra time this week. And along with that, if you do the international trade extension, following that up is a bonus opportunity, the test of economic literacy. It's put together by the National Council for Economic Education. It's 15 multiple choice questions. I made sure that I took out, I think it's normally 20 questions. I took out 5 that we didn't have time to get to. But the content of the 15 questions are topics we would have covered over these 6 weeks. If you did the international trade, it's all 15 are covered. It's one chance, one attempt at it. It's non-resumable. That's why it's extra credit. But for every 3 that you get right, I will factor in a bonus point. So you could earn up to 5 bonus points if you choose to take this. And then the last piece that I'm asking everybody to take is an exit survey for this economics course. It's helpful for me to get feedback from you in preparing future modules and ways of running the course, looking for ways that I can improve it, since this is only the second section that I've ever had the opportunity to teach. So with that all said, again, just want to thank you all for your efforts. Again, this is a very diligent group, and I wish you nothing but best in the future. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to message me, email me, pop into my office hours. Again, Thursday of this week, 8:30 to 9:30, I will be available. And I guess one last thought that popped in my head that you might need to know, work is due by March 5th. So by end of the day, Friday, stuff needs to be turned in. If you need an extension, you have to let me know. I'm not going to assume that you need one, or I'm not going to guess that you need one. I'm going to rely on you telling me. So please reach out to me if you think you fall into that category. Otherwise, see you all later.